Okay, now we're going to look at an example. So here I have my system of inequalities. So you can see I have two. And the first thing I want to do if I'm going to graph them is I want to be able to look at my slope. So I've got to take the first equation and I've got to rearrange it and make it that y equals mx plus b format. So I'm going to take away 4x from both sides and now I'm going to divide by 3. So I've got y is greater than negative 2 minus 4/3 x. And again, I want to be able to identify all these pieces of information from my rearranged inequality so that I can use it to graph. So first thing I need to identify is my slope, and that is a negative 4/3. And I need my slope so that I know what direction to move to make my ordered pairs. So since it's negative 4, that's down 4 and then right 3. And that's how I'm going to move between my ordered pairs. My y-intercept is negative 2, so that's the point 0, negative 2. And then I need to look at my inequality sign to know what type of line, solid or broken. And I see this is a greater than, no bar, so that means a broken line. All the ordered pairs on the broken line will not be part of my final solution set. They will not be part of that double shaded region. And finally, my shading. Since this is a greater than, y is greater than, that means I'm going to shade up because greater than was in that shade up box. All right, so now we're going to actually graph our inequality number 1. So I'm going to go to negative 2, my starting point, and now I'm going to move down 4, right 3. So from this starting point, we're going to go down 4, right 3, down 4, right 3. And since I ran out of coordinate plane, I'm going to go back to my starting point, and now I'm going to move in the opposite direction to create the other side of my line. So I'm going to go up 4, left 3, up 4, left 3. Okay, and since it's broken, I'm not going to connect all my points, so I'm just going to make some dashes so that I have some gaps between, and I'm going to put arrows on the end to show that my lines keep going. And now I have to add my shading. So to shade up, here's how you're going to shade up. You're going to take a highlighter or a colored pencil, because those are the easiest to see, and you're going to start at your y-intercept, and you're going to go up and just make a little mark. And you see your broken line? It split this coordinate plane. I have a region here, and then I have a region down here. And if I'm going to be greater than, I want to shade the region that's up from my boundary line, which means this is the region right here that gets shaded. Now, you could certainly color all of this in, but to save my highlighter, I just kind of make stripes so that I can see. And now I'm going to rearrange my second inequality so that I can get these 4 characteristics: slope, y-intercept. I can look at my boundary line and my shading. Those are the 4 things that I need to be able to match up between my system of inequalities and my graph of my system. So we are going to rearrange graph the inequality number 2. So I have to subtract x from both sides. So I'm going to have negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 9 minus x, and then we are going to divide by negative 3 all the way across. So I'm going to have y is equal, I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to go finish out my division. So I'm going to have 3 plus 1/3 x, and remember, you are going to need to remember the flip-flop. That is one thing that is different with our inequalities and our equals, and that is if you divide by a negative. Divide by a negative. Okay? And this is something, again, you are going to have to memorize, because this is what makes an inequality different from a system of equations. Your inequalities have the ability for the sign to flip direction. So I divided by negative 3, which means this sign is now going to turn into a greater than or equal to, which is going to change what I think the shading should do. So again, we're going to identify our slope. Our slope is 1/3. Since it's positive, it's telling me up 1, right 3. This is not new information. This is a review. And my y-intercept is going to be at the point 0, 3. So I'm starting at 3 on the y-axis. And because I see a bar, I have a greater than or equal to. That is telling me I have a solid line. So all the points on the solid line will be included in that double shaded region. and now I got to fix my shading. So I've got to look at my final sign because it flipped, and this is a greater than, which means I'm going to shade up from my solid line. So now we're going to graph this here. Start at 3. I'm going to go up 1, right 3. Up 1, right 3, and I'm going to repeat going up 1, right 3 till I run out of coordinate plane. And now I'm going to go down 1, left 3 to draw the other side of my line. Down 1, 3, down 1, left 3. And again, this is a solid line, so I'm going to connect my points. And now I have to add my shading. And since it's up, I'm going to take my different colored highlighter or colored pencil, and I am going to start at my y-intercept. And since I want to go up, shade up, I'm going to make a little mark. So now this tells me that my shaded area has to come on this side of my solid boundary line. And you can see I have an area in my graph where my blue and yellow shading overlap. That right there, this area right here, this is the solution set for my system of inequalities. So any ordered pair, every ordered pair that's in that double overlapping is going to be a solution to my system, which means if I plug it in, I'm going to get 2 true answers. Now, the ordered pairs here are going to count, but the ordered pairs on this broken line will not count because broken line points are not part of the shaded solution set. All right, let's look at the last example. And we are going to rearrange. So I'm going to have negative 2y is greater than 8 minus x. And I'm going to divide by negative 2 and y. And I'm going to get negative 4 plus 1/2 x. Now, I'm rearranging this so that I can see the slope and y-intercept to graph it by hand. And since I divided by negative, that tells me I'm going to have to flip-flop my sign. So it's going to change to a less than. So now I can identify my slope. I have 1/2, which tells me up 1, right 2, and y-intercept of 0, negative 4. And look at my sign. I see no bar, so it's just a less than. That tells me broken. And now I need to look at my shading. And again, do not look at the original sign because it may have flip-flopped. You want to use the final sign, so it's less than, which means I'm going to shade down. All right, so let's graph this. I'm going to start at negative 4. I'm going to go up 1, right 2, and I'm going to keep going up 1, right 2 until I run out of coordinate plane. Then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do the opposite direction of my slope to create the other side of my line because I want it to be straight. So I'm going to go down 1, left 2, and I'm going to repeat going down 1, left 2 until I run out of coordinate plane. And since it's broken, I am going to create some dashes, just some space so that I show that my line is broken, not solid. And now I have to add my shading. And I am shading down, so I'm going to start at my y-intercept, and I'm going to go down, which means I am shading this bottom side of the coordinate plane from my broken line. And that is that inequality. And now we're going to rearrange inequality number 2. So I'm going to have negative 2y is greater than 12 minus 3x, and I'm going to divide by negative 2 all the way across so that I get my y equals mx plus b format. And I'm going to have negative 6 plus 3/2 x. And since I divided by negative, that tells me I'm going to flip-flop my sign. So my sign is going to now become a less than sign. And so now I can fill in my information. My slope is 3/2, so that tells me I'm going to move up 3, right 2. My y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 6. And if I look at my sign, it is a less than, which means it is going to be broken, no bar. And since it's a less than, that matches up with shade down, shade below. Okay, so now we're going to graph this inequality so that we have it. So I'm going to start at 0, negative 6, and I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 2, 1, 2, 3, right 2. And I'm going to continue going up 3, right 2 until I run out of space. And now I'm going to go back down to my starting point, and I'm going to do the opposite to create the other side of my line. So I'm going to go down 3, left 2. And since this is broken, I just need some dashes here. And now I have to add my shading, and my shading tells me I have to move down from my broken line for inequality number 2. So I'm going to go on this side. So I am going to shade like this. And you can see I have an area where my yellow and my blue overlap. And that is this area right here in that bottom corner. That is my solution set. So any ordered pair that's coming from this double overlap area, that is going to be where my answers are, and that's what I'm trying to find.